We should start the meeting, so we will do roll call, starting here.
Michael Hober, BUEA member.
Kate Rosenberger, BUEA.
Mary Morgan, BUEA.
Heather Robinson, BUEA.
Jane Cooper Smith, BUEA.
Phil Emerson, BUEA.
D. De La Rosa, ESD. And then our guests in the back.
I'm David Watt from the Warehouse.
I'm Sean Urton with Urton Properties, Urton Qualified Opportunity Fund.
Noah Sandwise, Historic Preservation Program Manager.
And did we get Virginia on there?
Overton.
Virginia Getheri, BUEA.
And then Marcy and DeJohn, if you could also introduce yourselves.
Marcy Hazen, Hazen Insurance Agency.
And DeJohn, if you don't mind saying your name out loud so we can just make record of it. Maybe? No? DeJohn, can you hear us? Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Hey,
There's
there he
DeJohn.
Sorry, I'm in the middle of working with a customer.
Just state your name, please, for the record.
John Rose, Andrew Davis Clothers.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Okay. Get everybody. D, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, so we need an approval of minutes from last month's meeting. We have a motion to approve, or I should say.
Approve.
Okay. Second,
Second.
Mary, all those in favor?
Aye.
And we'll need to do roll call on that to approve.
Michael Hober, aye.
Kate Rosenberger, yes.
Mary Morgan, yes.
Heather Robinson, yes.
Jane Cooper Smith, yes.
Phil Emerson, yes.
Virginia.
Virginia, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Motion carries. All right, D, you're up, director's report.
All right. So if you guys notice, the packet is starting to look a little bit different than before. Because we've had these pretty packed meetings, I'm trying to get summaries together so you guys can read over everything and we can just kind of rip through the main points. General updates. I met with Ivy Tech at SBDC and Keith Dayton from Kelly School at the end of April to talk about some of the strategic planning and marketing that I've been interested in doing for the BUEA. I was not expecting to walk into a room with a team that is very, very interested in helping us do that. They really appreciate the support that we give them annually. So it's all hands on deck. So we're working on that sort of thing. I think it was last week, Professor Dayton and I drove around the border of the BUEA so we could kind of see what it was and kind of where it would be helpful to kind of concentrate our efforts. So that's just a general thing. So I'm pretty excited to work with them more closely. We have had, it's a long time coming, but there is a fairly solid draft of the loan conversion program in your packet. This has passed through our department, ESD, the controller's office, and the mayor's office at this juncture. There were a lot of things that were kind of taken out of that to simplify the process. It tended to be very, we're trying to lower some barriers as far as making this accessible as a program to our borrowers. So when you look at past versions of this in comparison to this version, we have taken a lot of paperwork out. We're going to have a more in-depth discussion about this in a second, but just so you know, that's kind of where I'm coming from as far as this draft that you're seeing right now. And then What else? So the grant applications, we have several. I do want to discuss the RRF program. However, I want to keep it limited because this will carry over to the next meeting that we have. Unfortunately, I will not be able to be here at the June meeting, so I'm figuring out an alternative plan so business can still get done while I'm gone. So we will figure out more of an application process at that juncture. So I don't know if you want to, Heather, if you want to jump into the RF discussion or if you want to go to the financial report. Because the RF discussion, the financial report, and the grant discussion kind of all fit together. I feel like we're going to kind of cover everything.
Yes. So one point to make though, Dee,
Mm-hmm.
We do not have Q1 financials, so we'll not be reviewing those today. So next month we will have, as I understand it, financials through April.
Yes.
Is that right? So we'll have Q1 plus April. And Dee mentioned before the meeting started that we have a lot of things that have been dispersed that are hitting, I think that have hit April. So we'll have a kind of a better look of where things are for this year as well. So that piece, just note that we will have financials next month and we'll have a bit more of an in-depth discussion about that. So Dee, I think let's talk about, why don't you and Jane talk about the RRF loan conversion. Let's get into that, and then because the budget really covers a couple of different things. This would be one of them.
Sure.
And the impact obviously would be in this year's budget, but we have kind of two pieces going on because we have a lot of requests in front of us today. So let's go to the RRF loan, and then let's talk a little bit about the budget after that and impact that we're seeing, because we are really, in fact, in some of our areas, if we approve everything on the agenda today, we will have exceeded the budget that we've established. So we need to talk about that. So let's talk though. Let's take a few minutes and spend on the RRF loan conversion.
Sure. Sorry, I was kind of doing several different things, so I'm going to open up
You had called this a final draft, but this is the program proposal, right?
This is the program
And
proposal.
so are we considering a vote on this today?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I think we going to? I shouldn't say
So
that.
what we discussed was going over this as far as any like fine-tuning things that the board would like to see, and then I would like a final vote once we have the application so the board can see it before we move forward. So
you don't want program approval until you have applications with dollar amounts on them?
no, the actual draft application for the board to see.
Okay.
So no. Not to that point, but that was one of the elements that I think would clarify what we are asking of the borrower. And I think that was clarification was what I was asked for from the board.
Yeah. Thanks for that. I might just push a little bit, and I don't have a dog in the fight, like we can wait, but I don't think the board usually approves applications for your grants, and so I will be interested to see where the discussion goes. I know how I feel about this program, and I am really ready to take action on it and then delegate preparation of the application to staff to just get it done. But maybe that's diving into the weeds too fast, and so backing the frame up and thinking about this program, Dee summarized it in the memo. It was created out of COVID to try to help businesses who were devastated and had to close the second the pandemic hit. They were awaiting their federal grant and loan funds in order to stay operational. The city and the BUEA hurried up and prepped this loan program in order to help businesses staunch the bleeding. It was anticipated that it would be a short bridge loan program, maybe 2-3 months while they got their EIDL and PPP. In reality, they needed all the resources they could get their hands on, and so businesses held onto this as longer term debt. Now we're at a point where even though businesses have survived the pandemic, it's a worse scenario for businesses who were open during the pandemic because they do tend to have longer term debt. It's like businesses are carrying a mortgage around, but they don't have assets to show for it in many cases. Some of them do. And then they're debt burdened, and we're facing this new period of economic uncertainty with tariffs on the horizon, cost of labor being really high. And for us in Bloomington, these small and locally owned businesses are so critical to our economic health. So for me, that's the big why behind this program proposal. And then a secondary big why is just the management of it. The trade-off isn't good enough for program impact. Dee has a lot of time into managing this program. Our controller's office has a lot of time. The business owners have a lot of time. They've been required to write paper checks. They often deliver them physically to City Hall. It's totally insane. And so, it's my Shark Tank voice. For these reasons, I would just highly support, enthusiastically support, and the approval of this program today. And I'd be very curious to see where you guys are sitting with it, how it's sitting with you.
I mean, I'm inclined to support it, but I would not want to vote on it today, in part because we don't have the financials, and I just want a better picture of how this is going to impact the budget along with the grants that we're considering today. I'm also curious if there was any conversations with some of the current loan holders that have already paid it back and that are like going to benefit from them. Was there any feedback that?
I've had no discussion with anyone who has paid the entire loan back. I've had discussions with people who do hold loans currently, that they would definitely benefit from not having the financial burden of having to pay this back if they are paying it back. There are some people who have just straight up said, I can't pay this back right now. So one of the things that we did change in the ask in the potential application that was asked of us from the mayor's office was, if you could pay something back, how much would it be? And then with further discussion, maybe we put like a limit, like within the next 60 days, like now or within the next 60 days. Because there are people who definitely want to pay it back. They just can't. So that is what I've gathered from people that have asked me about this, have been like, hey, can I lower my payment? Hey, can I do this? And I always tell people, pay what you can. I did get a lot of pushback from the former controller that people weren't paying their full loan payment. And I thought, if you can pay something and you want to pay something, then you should pay something. So it's not for lack of want or trying to, wiggle out of something that they've asked for. It is legitimately that they're having issues paying their loans.
Gotcha, thank you.
One of the questions I had, Dean, we talked about this, just kind of teeing up for the meeting, this is just kind of an executive summary of just, what impact it would be, and it's just an estimate here. We don't know the exact amount. Tell me about, because we don't have the application yet, and I mean, you have some bullets here, but how will it be determined that someone qualifies? So from a perspective of a board, we're not a bank, and I know, and this was before my time, before I was here, I think before many of us were, and so I know now we have the hot potato, and we're trying to navigate this and support small businesses while also exercising fiduciary oversight for this organization. So how will a business qualify for having their loan essentially completely dismissed?
Well, the guidance that we've gotten from the Office of the Controller is to fully forgive all of the loans that, like, if this proposal that we've put forth is to forgive all of the loans that we have, and we do have support and guidance from the Office of the Controller. So,
well, the application includes a statement of need.
Yeah.
And so really the applicant is self-identifying by making their case, making their statement, and then stating what amount they can repay. And then with that information, and probably, you know, we have historic payment information on
Yes.
hand for every participant. So that's the information.
So the amount that they can pay back, the amount that they can pay back in 30 days and 90 days and in 6 months. So what are we just simply asking for at that moment, what they can pay back?
I would interpret that as they're stating us what monthly payment they could make, and we could consider retaining that portion of the loan. But you know, this is proposed as a forgiveness program, and so I really expect businesses to say that they're applying for loan forgiveness.
But how do we qualify that they're applying for the loan forgiveness? What documentation will be reviewed to qualify that the loan forgiveness is, you know, I'm not trying to.
We're not asking them for financial information because it ends up going into our public records. We're asking them to make a statement to us about it. We're not asking for them to submit their tax forms, which we initially thought about doing. We think that's a barrier. We think it's hard for businesses that are in need. And honestly, we think this should have been a grant program out of the gate. And
Yeah.
so there is a disparity in that, you know, some businesses paid it back, but those businesses that paid this debt back were able to pay it back. And the businesses that are nickel and diming it they don't want to make, no business owner wants to make a half payment on a loan.
Right.
No business owner wants to carry a loan around. So
I get that, I do, but I'm struggling to understand just that simply a written letter would suffice for some kind of, yeah.
So I will say this, when I first was handed this project and started working on it, nearly every single business that we are speaking about right now, I sent them to SBDC for guidance to enter in some type of counseling or some type of assistance. There is proof there. There is something that that they would be able to produce as a written statement saying, hey, I have asked for assistance, I have tried to get help, and this is where I am, with the backing of SBDC. Now, this is nearly, I would say that this is at least 50% of the applicants that we have. If that is something that is necessary for the board to approve this, then I'm willing to go into that, but I don't want to go into the financials of, like Jane has said,
Yeah.
all of that goes into public record.
No, I understand that, but it creates a barrier for the board to make a decision.
Right, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
We're
Why
basically
would it
treating it
be?
like a grant, right? And
Right.
for all our other grants, we need documentation saying why you're in need or whatever. And I understand what you're talking about. It's just a sticky situation with what is already existing, and we can pick and choose, but it's gonna create a lot of friction.
may not. I mean, the other thing that I think might be a disconnect is that I don't know that any members of the current board were in place during the time that these loans were issued, and there was a very rigid and thorough and public review process. So there was a loan review board. There was a thorough application that was housed at the Community Foundation's website. There were tax forms required. There were 3 years of financials required. And it was just very, very thorough. So I think, you know, we have all of that information. We retain that information as a background. What I'm hearing in between some of the things that you're saying is that you need like more details on what the current state information is that we're requesting of these borrowers. So I think it could be valuable to ask them how the funds were used, or and they'll probably all say operating expenses. They won't have assets to show for them. But I want to advocate strongly that we make this as low barrier as possible, and take this opportunity to support these businesses. And I'm gonna zip it, but I'm just curious what other board members are feeling too.
I understand both sides, but I guess the way I feel about it is let's make this as simple as possible and not pick and choose. You know, I understand wanting something from them, but I'm okay with the written statement, personally.
I should know, but how many businesses and how much in dollars are we talking about?
13 and about $125,000.
That's partly why I'm inclined to make it as simple as possible. We were talking larger numbers or larger dollars.
So the assumption is that it's everybody that it has a loan is going to ask for total forgiveness. If it's 125 for that number. So then, why not just clean the slate? I mean, I guess if we're gonna, if our expectation is to do that completely, then what are we gaining from having the individual owners apply and provide documentation if we're already budgeting for a complete clean slate?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that, and I recognize our time here, and just don't want to, but just that kind of idea of the process. So if we have some businesses that simply do not respond, that do not apply for the forgiveness, do not, so I feel that there's those piece of it too.
Yeah.
So in some ways, I feel that the board is kind of being asked to just clean the slate with some application process, but then there inevitably will be businesses that simply don't respond, don't reach out, they're not in business any longer. And so will we ultimately, I just kind of trying to balance that side of it too. And I'm certainly I am absolutely sympathetic to the businesses and want nothing more to support small businesses. But I also, from the side of the board, just making sure that we are exercising, a process for exhausting these funds, because to your point, Jane, they're likely operating, and those aren't budget or aren't grants that this board typically gives, is for operating funds. So it is a different side of it as well from that standpoint. So
Virginia, did you have any thoughts on this?
Yes, thank you. So I would agree, as a small business who did participate in the program and made payments, a few payments, I do think that most businesses absolutely want to be able to pay their debt. But I also think, again, as a small business owner, if you have like self-funded or whatever you're doing as a small business owner, the majority of your income is going to go to wage, right? And then so unfortunately you're going to do wage, and then rent, supplies, some of those other things trickle kind of away, especially since the BUEA has not been like a loan shark. I think for most businesses, they're like, oh, I'm cool, and then you forget in 3 months and you've made either a partial payment or haven't made a payment. So I would say, as a person owning a business who has been fortunate to be part of that program, I'm okay with whatever decision, right? You just figure out how to get the payments on track or do what you have to do, if that is the ideal situation. But of course, if it is a forgiveness thing, I honestly would say something like maybe it's a situation where if there were another round of loan available, it would either just be all grant, or maybe the businesses that took advantage of it in the first setting, even if things happened that were outside of their control. Because I actually know a couple personal business owners who closed anyway, right, in spite of, and they took funding, so I know they didn't pay or they couldn't pay. But maybe those businesses wouldn't be qualified to take another round, until they prove something. I don't know. I mean, that may sound harsh, but I'm just saying, and I'm speaking from someone that was in the programs. So yeah,
Virginia,
thank you for asking.
Do you mean that they wouldn't be eligible for future programming dollars from BUEA until they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And until something, because even if your situation is dire, where you are struggling and have to prioritize wage expense, have to prioritize rent, have to prioritize supplies expense, there still has to be some type of responsibility, right? And like I said, just in all transparency, BUEA, we're not like loan sharks. Like, if you don't pay this payment, we're gonna shake you down. And, if that were the case, then the outcomes would be different. But that wasn't how BUEA treated the business owners, right? The asks were very kind, they were very gracious, they were very patient. And so I feel like there still is responsibility, regardless of what your personal business situation might be, right? So yeah, that's just kind of I think that's my recommendation, maybe to add, not to be mean, but we saw that you took the loan before. We would love to help you, but we want you to get into this program first and show these competencies first. Because I mean, I spoke with people at the SBC, I like those people over there. I always go over there, chat with them and, counsel with them and stuff. But I think you have to require some type of responsibility to kind of prove that you can be, responsible in paying this back if you go for another round.
So Virginia, let me try and sum that up. So what you're saying is that if, and maybe I'm completely wrong, you can stop me. So if someone were to participate in this program and were to get their loan converted to a grant, then there would be some type of stipulation or period of time before they could apply for another loan or apply for another grant from the BUEA.
I think so. And I'm speaking, like I said, as a business that, has sporadic payments. So very transparently. So yes, absolutely. And I don't think that that's harsh, because stuff happens. But I think, other people may disagree with me, but I think there should be something.
I think that's a good idea. I mean, I see all the sides as well. I think we all do, right? Like, and I think about a lot with what we do that we're very nimble, and we do get to be like sympathetic here always, and like decide we want to give this company a grant even though it doesn't fit in properly and all those good things. And that's like a wonderful thing about the BUEA. But I do like that it's like consideration basically in a choice, right, for almost like a new contract with us, that you can almost kind of like declare BUEA bankruptcy with us. And you have a period of time, or you have a program that you have to go through if you do start another business, whether it be you or partners or whatever. And just that, like, we can be gracious, but they could still opt to like pay it back or do the forgiveness and like wait a while if they do it again. Because I guess I was thinking too, like what Virginia was saying, like what could we kind of put in there that's like, we will do this for you, but it's not necessarily just like a total forgiveness, I guess. And I feel like the city does that in other ways, just like landlords, if they have like notches against them, they can't do special projects and like for 3 years, and like, so I think it's like not uncommon that we would do that.
I have a solution for that, I think, hearing you guys talk. So Dee, I think we should think about the phrase good standing, and then we can define it in the application, and then we can talk about the activities. So maybe you're getting this loan forgiven. If you want to be considered in good standing for a future grant, then whatever, you have to do X, Y, or Z. But I think that might be a contractual way to get at these ideas.
I think that's a good bridge. I like that. Virginia, thank you for that very much. Your firsthand experience, I think. So I would agree. I mean, I don't want to speak for how's everyone feeling about that idea, sort of bridging that?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I would rather not vote on it at this meeting.
I would agree. I feel like this piece needs to be somehow maybe incorporated.
Yes, absolutely.
And then we do have we have a lot to cover here quickly.
Yeah.
So next month we'll focus on this and the budget a lot. So everyone stay tuned for that. All right, Dee. Anything else for your report?
No, we should jump into, let's see, do we want to jump into the grants and then the budget, or the grant budget currently?
Okay. Yes. sorry. I just, there's so many moving parts. And thanks to all of our guests that are joining us today and have requests before us. We want to be mindful of time and make sure that we can, give everyone time for their request. So Dee, let's look at this. Can you pull up the,
Yep.
that, because there's so many documents here. Let's pull up the grant. I think you need to be in the other one.
The one that was excluded? No.
Yeah, the other one that has our, let's look here quick where we are and the potential. So,
Hold on a second, let me, do this, but share the screen. Am I just not seeing it? Or am
where
I
is it?
crazy? Did they move it again?
There it is. Yeah,
There it is.
Okay. Show that up. Okay.
Alright.
All right. So this gives us a picture then of grants. So we have either for 2025 what's been dispersed and committed. So let's look at that second group of grants, the zone improvement grants that's outside of the historic facade. That's what we're talking about today. So things that we've already approved or committed, and then we can see what those balance of those budgets are. So I think where our issue comes in, particularly for today, we have several business building improvement grants in front of us, correct, Dee?
Yes.
We have several. Okay, so flip to that next slide down and blow that one up for us. If you can. Okay. It's not going to let you get it any larger. Okay. Control plus, I don't know if that'll get you.
browser?
So,
Top right.
okay. Oh, there we go. Yay. Okay. All right. So, so if the board were to approve all requests today for business building improvement, that would put us $30,000 over our budget for the year. So that's something to consider.
That's all requests at the full request
At
amount.
full request amount today. So we just keeping that in mind as a board. And then also Dee put together what our budget and what our dispersed amounts were for 2024. So I think that's helpful in, letting us take a look at and see what may have been unspent last year. We did have some unspent dollars from last year. Not in business building improvement though, as it were,
yeah.
unfortunately not. So I think that this is something to, we talk about as we go through these today and whether or not we are, as a board, approving funds in excess of what's been budgeted, and then guidance for D as well on, after today's approval, whether or not we just need to turn that one off, that grant off, business building improvement, that we just simply cannot accept any more grants until we make a modification to budget or whatnot. Okay, so with that, shall we start talking about?
Yeah, let's just start straight down the list that's in the director's report. The first one is a historic facade grant from Urton Qualified Opportunity Fund. This is for the building on 601 North Morton Street. It is the Showers Administration Building. I will see if I can open those pictures in just a moment. This building is part of the Trades District. It kind of makes the Trades District pretty cohesive. As far as the beautiful brick that's back there. Most of the funding that they are asking for, or most of the expense is for tuck pointing and masonry work. So the $20,000 that they are asking for out of the historic facade grant line would go mainly to the masonry tuck pointing. I don't know if the board had any questions while looking over this, but if you do, please let me know.
The estimate of $75,000, I didn't see any documentation specifically to that. Where does the estimate of $75,000 come from?
Sean Erden's here and he can explain more about that, if you wouldn't mind, Sean.
I'd be glad to.
Come up to the table so we can have it on the mic. Thanks.
Old man body.
And
So I'm sorry I did not bring an estimate. I didn't realize that needed to be provided for this morning's meeting. I think that was communicated a little bit late, so my apologies. The building is approximately 18,000 square feet, and the entire building needs to be re-tuck pointed. There are areas that have absolutely no masonry in the joints. Nothing is looking at failing currently. However, there is a lot of moisture that's penetrating the building, which creates some issues on the interior. I have verbal estimates of $75,000 to $100,000 for completion of the entire building. Essentially what today is about is to figure out if we can move forward with this project depending on what grants and funding may be available. We would not be looking for any funding up front or any grants up front. We would look for that funding upon completion and acceptance by the BUEA. But if we feel like it's moving forward with the grant process, I would be more than glad to get something in writing for the facade repairs. And we would start in the front, which is probably the most important. The entire interior of the building has been remodeled. I shouldn't say remodeled, it's been updated, and is pretty amazing. Currently, we're looking to get tenants and anything and everything that we can do to get a tenant into the building with any type of visual improvements on the exterior, would be appreciated.
I think the trick with today that's a little challenging is we kind of need to do the rounds and look at all the grants together for the business improvement category. So I don't have additional questions about this one. I would be highly supportive of it, especially given the challenges that tuck pointing has caused at the mill with the actual failure of a wall. And so I think we want to help Mr. Urton avoid that if possible and protect this gem. It's really a wonderful building.
Thank you.
did this require, and you've probably already been through all this since you've been into this, like historic commission approval? Does any of that apply to anything we're approving today? Do we still?
This is a referral from historic preservation.
Okay.
All of the historic facade grants that we receive
They are
referrals.
okay, thanks, okay.
Is this historic facade or building improvement?
This is
This
historic
facade.
Oh, okay. Okay, so then this is our only historic facade, right?
Right.
for
Yeah.
this? Oh, okay.
Am I looking at an older?
Yeah, they're in different packets.
Okay.
It's-
I'm
I'm sorry,
just
yes,
scrolling and I'm like, what is wrong with me? Okay.
It's
the updated
an
one?
edition that I
Okay,
sent
sorry,
this morning.
okay.
Or is it this
Yep.
morning or this evening? Or
This morning.
this evening.
Okay.
I sent it last night, you guys got it this morning.
Okay. Oh, I see, sorry, okay.
And I had a question about the fact that you don't have clear title to the property. Is that why the warranty deed is attached? I guess I'm confused about.
What do you mean by clear title?
There was a checkbox asking, do you have clear title?
I have a small mortgage on the property.
Oh, so
Oh,
it's
that's
the
all.
lien.
Okay, okay. I wasn't clear about what that meant.
So in that spreadsheet, this is a facade, it's not a business improvement.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
So I
historic
need
facade. We
to-
still have $40,000 left in historic facade.
Okay.
What's the default ask on facades again?
It's actually 10. It's a
Per
match.
side, right?
It's a 10 match.
Right, it's
But it's 10 per
facade
facade.
with a maximum of
20?
2 facades per
Facade,
applicant.
yes.
Okay, which this building has
Are you aware
two
of other
street facing.
grants in historic?
There will potentially be another one from Urton Properties, but it's for a different LLC. It's not this opportunity fund, but it is for a different building and from a different LLC.
Because this is a facade grant, I feel fine voting on it
Me
now.
too.
Is that?
Yeah.
I want to make the motion because I want to say something really specific. I'd like to move approval of the grant for up to 10,000, the historic facade grant proposal for, what's the opportunity fund, Urton Opportunity Fund for 601 North Morton, conditioned upon the receipt of a, final estimates.
Yeah.
Okay,
So you said 10,000?
yeah, isn't that what you asked for?
It's per facade, so it's
Are you guys
20 facades.
gonna elevate it, the ask then? Okay, let me restate. Okay, everybody, I move approval of up to $20,000. That's up to 10,000 per facade, 2 facades, for 601 North Morton to Urton Opportunity Fund, conditioned upon completion of the work and proof of payment.
Perfect.
Did that do it?
Yep.
Yes, I do have one question. Was the verbal, just popped in my head, was the verbal for 2 sides, or were you looking to do the entire property? And
We're
just-
looking to do the entire building.
Okay, that's great. So, all right, good to know.
Okay, we have a motion.
I second.
Second, Phil. We'll need a around the room on this one.
Michael Hover, aye.
Kate Rosenberger, yes?
Mary Morgan, yes.
Heather Robinson, yes.
Jane Cooper Smith, aye.
Phil Amerson, aye.
Virginia Giffieri, aye.
All right, motion
Motion
carries.
carries.
Thank you.
Great. Guys, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
All right, so, in our safety and security category, we have, we have 2, the last 2 that we have on the list are for more than the $10,000, so I would like to get through the smaller asks first. For WFHB, it's a safety and security grant for around $3,000. This is for the emergency alert system, that WFHB utilizes to broadcast across the county. I think that this is a pretty easy ask. They're only asking for $3,000. This would benefit not only the zone, the city, but also the county. So,
I move approval to support this grant in the full amount requested.
Second. Oh, Mary's got it.
okay.
And we'll need to go around, sorry. We have, since we have for
Yep. Michael Hover, aye.
Kate Rosenberger, yes?
Mary Morgan, yes.
Heather Robinson, yes.
Jane Cooper Smith, aye.
Phil Amerson, aye.
Virginia Giffieri, aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Now we get into the business accessibility grants. The first 3 are for at or under the suggested amount. Juniper Art Gallery. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's different.
I'm
right?
sorry. Yes,
Okay.
you're totally right. I'm just lumping it all together. We'll just go to Juniper Art Gallery. This is a business accessibility grant. The original ask on the application was $9,000. I did the math, and it's actually more $72.67. I will show you some pictures. Jamie wants to put in a really amazing ramp in the back of her building. Let's see if I can get to it. Oh, come on. Let's see, where are we? So Jamie does lease the spot. Any improvements must be done by the tenant, unfortunately. So her match actually though is from her landlord, who will match the funds if she gets this grant.
Oh, that's sweet.
So essentially the ramp would come out into the pavement and then up into the door, and then everything would be restriped within the parking lot for additional accessible spaces.
I think it looks great. It looks like it's across from Juanita's.
Yes, formerly Juanita's, yes.
So sad.
I'll move approval.
What's he asking?
7276.
And the landlord will match, correct? As you said,
Yes.
So we will, so assuming the landlord follows through, of course, with that match. Sometimes, you know, just
Yeah.
just to
Seems
make
very
sure
high.
on that. Yeah.
Well, it's a bathroom and
Okay, it's not just a ramp, okay.
Yes, there's also a bathroom inside that is also,
Okay, I was like,
I'm
that
sorry.
seems extremely high.
I'm sorry, I forgot to add the
I
bathroom.
could do that for $300.
Yeah.
like I would like to apply for that.
Yeah.
I just have to leave at 1, that's why I'm hot to trot.
Yeah.
I'll move approval of this business accessibility grant for Juniper Art Gallery for $7,276.50 to support ADA improvements to a bathroom and the addition of an ADA compliant ramp to the
Second.
building.
Okay. And a second, all around the room.
Michael Hober, aye.
Okay, Rosa Marias?
Mary Morgan, yes.
Heather
Jane-
Robinson, yes.
Jane Cooper Smith, aye.
Phil Emerson, aye.
Oh,
Virginia Gethers, aye. Oh, sorry,
There she
guys.
is.
Virginia Gethers, aye.
All right.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, motion carries for that. All right. Where from here, Dee? Do we want to get into the business building improvement, or do we want to talk about the forge quick?
Actually, let's do the 2 business building improvements.
There are 3.
Yes, but those, the 2 business building improvements that are within the
Okay.
amounts.
Okay.
So, Andrew Davis Clothiers, they did massive improvements to their store. They made it more accessible, which is not really what they're asking for, but they also just improved the general look and updated everything. I don't like Adobe. Sorry, guys.
So this is already done.
This has been done. The ask, you can, so the stipulation on this is that the improvements need to be done within 12 months of the ask, either prior to or pre, or like in reimbursement.
That's what our current policy says.
That is what our current policy says.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. They did improvements, they updated the building, and it has been beneficial to their business, so. I don't know if you have any questions about this.
I'm sure I do.
The document says their lease ends in 2037. Is that just a typo? That's a very long.
I actually don't think that is a typo.
Yeah, you've got somebody on the.
That's accurate.
That's,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, okay.
As part of one of the reasons that we did the renovation was we agreed to the longer term lease.
Okay.
You know, if we were gonna invest in the property, we wanted to make sure we were gonna be here for a while.
Yeah, wow.
Great.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Good for you.
Are all the improvements done internally?
Yes.
Okay. Long-time business, downtown, in the zone,
City.
city, long-term lease.
Yeah.
I move approval.
Second.
All right.
Do you need all the words, Dee?
No, you don't, no.
Move approval.
I just need everyone to say yay out loud.
We have a motion and a second. Anything further?
No.
Okay, around the room.
Michael Hover, aye.
Okay, Rosa Marias?
Mary Morgan, yes.
Heather Robinson, yes.
Jane Cooper Smith, aye.
Phil Emerson, yes.
All right.
Virginia Gethers, yes.
Fantastic.
All right. Thank you, Dijon.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Leslie at the $10,000 range, we have Doug Hazen Insurance. Although this property is not within the zone, I definitely put in the stats to show how much they support zone families and people who live within the zone.
It's zone adjacent, right?
It is adjacent. It is very close.
What's the,
Yeah, so Hazen Insurance reported serving 157 families within the zone, which is with a total of 222 policies, including 33 life insurance policies. And they also have general liability policies for many local businesses within the zone and members of the Farmers Market and Food Truck Friday. What they give to the zone in their support, I think makes them eligible for this loan or this grant. Essentially, they need to repave an area in a new building where they will be starting another branch of their insurance company. However, there are environmental, there's some environmental that needs to be done. So to alleviate this environmental problem, there needs to be repaving done. So they need new asphalt. This was an expense that they didn't expect to incur when they took over the property or when they got the zoning or the planning permits. So they have reached out to us to assist.
I'll add something to this. This project came on our radar when it was brought to us by Eric at the Chamber of Commerce, and the options for the Hazen Company were really like, do we eat the cost here in Bloomington, or do we just go set up office in a different community? And so that was, at the time I recommended Doug talk to Dee, because I think this is a company that's been active in Bloomington for a long time. We know the costs of operating here are really high. We know that it's challenging anytime you're hitting a planning department process. And so that's just the background before the ask even came in. And so I really support this grant request.
I guess I have just, I think it's a great company. I'm concerned about I don't know if this sets a precedent in going outside the zone for a business, even though people, they're doing business in the zone. So that's just a question. And then just the whole concept of the city requiring things, so we're offsetting that with a grant, just seems to me to be, yeah, I know that we can't address the city processes, but it kind of feels like we're being asked to offset the cost of a city policy
Right.
that
is impacting the business, so we're,
that is outside of the zone, that does business in the zone.
What is the address of it?
Sorry.
The only one I found fast was like South Auto Mall Road, which I assume is not it.
It's a new
It's
location.
1900 West 3rd Street.
There we go.
Okay.
Oh,
It's between American Legion and Culver's.
so it's just right there. We have a history in the past of funding off organizations outside the zone but serving the zone. MCC's SC is a good example of that. I think even the Buzz Chum is technically outside of the zone, but it's zone serving, and we would have requirements on those grants that they're, extending X% or whatever services.
Also, Ivy Tech is a prime example of something that's outside the zone but serves zone residents.
Okay.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go, so I guess I won't be able to vote on this one or the next one.
Unless you make the motion.
I don't know if the group's ready for it.
I don't feel ready.
Okay.
Is that what you were gonna say?
No, I'm with you though.
I feel like it's too far outside of the zone, and I feel like we have made exceptions, like the 4th Street
Jane, you can
Arts
read
Festival,
one.
because part of it is in the zone, right? This feels to me very disconnected.
Well, we're in the fight of our lives to keep businesses here. This is an opportunity to support them, and our planning department is working on process improvements and thinking through some of these impacts, but the timing's not aligned there
Thank you,
for
Jane.
this project.
Yeah, our mission statement is also the Bloomington Urban Enterprise Association provides a means to improve the economic, physical, social, and social environment for zone residents and businesses. This actually does improve the economic environment for zone residences because they are offering insurance and a way of safeguarding people's assets and their lives. And they're helping, they've even listed how many zone residents that they're helping, and that is a good chunk of folks.
What type of insurance do they?
They do, Marcy, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure, we do home, auto, life, business insurance, so we offer the whole gamut.
I see that.
We have a lot of families that we service in that zone area. We do a lot of food trucks, we do a lot of individual farmers who set up at the farmer's market. So we do service quite a few of the zone families.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for this business, I truly do. The other examples that were given about organizations outside the zone were all educational or nonprofit versus a private business. I just feel like there are, I guess I don't want to vote on it today. I'd like to wait and give this some more thought. I think it really would open the door to a lot of other businesses that could make the same case. Maybe we want to do that, and that's just something I think we should think through.
I think, yeah, I'm with you, Mayor. I think it's in conflict with our internal process. And so we probably need to rectify that if we want to move forward on something like this. And I agree, educational, nonprofit, festival type things have been kind of a different situation. Marcy, I certainly don't want to put you off on this, but I feel like the board needs some more time to think on this. Technically the business outside of the zone, this would be outside of our process. And so I think, or am I hearing from the group that
I
we want
I
to?
would just like more information. I would like some pictures of the property and just see what kind of improvements these will be. Cause if it's, I can see it if we are improving the customers, like if the customers are, benefiting from this, I could see it maybe, but I just
So this,
would love.
just to give you a little heads up or a little background, this building was vacant for many months. It had about 3/4 of the windows boarded up because they had been broken out. Air conditioning unit had been stolen, and we are putting quite a bit of money into the interior to remodel, as well as the exterior with landscaping, that kind of thing. So we were kind of blindsided when we were told that we had to blacktop the back part of it, because we thought going into it we would not have to do that. So that's just an expense that we were not expecting, and is going to hit us really hard in the bottom dollar item when it comes to finishing this project.
And Marcy, what is the current location of, what's the location of your current building that you work out of?
We're currently at 804 South Auto Mall Road.
Is a motion to table in order?
How is everyone feeling? Table this? I'm really sorry, Marcy, we just need a little more time as a board to get some of the process pieces here together, and we will table this for another meeting. So I really appreciate your time, and I'm sorry about the unknown expense that came your way. But as a board, we just need a little bit more clarity on, the appropriate path for this. All right.
Do we need to vote on that?
Marcy, I'll
Yeah, do we
contact
need
you
to-
after the meeting so we can talk, okay?
Okay, thank
Thanks.
you.
Do we need to vote to table it or not?
We need to vote to table the next, the last three, since we are all over time at this point.
Okay. All right.
And do we still have quorum? I'm sorry.
We do
Yes, we
still
do,
have
because
quorum.
Virginia is still online.
Yeah.
Correct, Virginia?
Do we still have?
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Is she there?
We-
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Like we're different. Okay.
So, all right.
Do you need a motion to table?
I think we'll have to have a motion to table. We just simply did not get through our full agenda today. And I'm really sorry about that. I know we have the warehouse here with us today, but we want to be able to give enough time to all of the grants before us. I really am sorry about that. So we are tabling the Forge, Hazen Insurance, and the warehouse. We have a motion to table.
Motion.
Okay. second?
Second.
All right, around the room.
Michael Hover, aye.
Kate Rosenberg, yes?
Mary Morgan, yes.
Heather Robinson, yes.
Phil Lamerson, aye.
Virginia,
Yeah. Go ahead, Virginia.
You go.
You go.
Virginia Theory, yes.
Okay. All right, thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.